Good morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are. I'm Paul Clark and welcome to the beach. Now I know most of us this year weren't able to go on holiday due to the unmentionable, so I thought today we'd have a go at painting this little beach hut and we can pretend we were there. Come and join me. Before we start, I'd just like to say a big thank you to everyone who's been supporting this channel. What I love about this YouTube thing is the fact that I'm sitting here in my little studio, or rather on the beach here in the UK, and you guys are watching from all corners of the world, and that just totally fascinates me. So I'd love to know exactly where you're watching from. So please drop a line down in the comments, even if you just put Sid from Sydney, Mary from Maryland. I'd love to know. So let's get going with the painting, shall we? Okay, my materials today. Normal 3 primaries, cobalt blue, alizarin crimson, cadmium yellow, some cadmium orange, some yellow ochre, Payne's grey, cerulean blue and burnt umber. My paper is some lovely 300-pound Arches rough. Brushes, number 12 round, 3/4 inch flat, number 8 round and a number 3 rigger. Okay, a basic line drawing, and as always you can download a drawing template from my website, link below and in the description. The first colour to mix is a warm yellow, just using some cadmium yellow with a touch of alizarin crimson. To start with, I'm wetting my paper with clean water all over and painting in a wash of the yellow. Now I want to give this painting a general warm feeling, so I'm giving my paper this underwash. Then I'm lifting out with my flat brush a few lighter areas. Now with my yellow mix, I'm just adding in a touch of burnt umber. Now in we go with the sand. Flat brush again, and I'm painting in various tones, dropping in some clean water here and there to soften some of the edges. And I'm following the angle of the slope with my brush strokes. Now for the sky colour, this is just a 50-50 mix of cobalt blue and cerulean blue. With my large mop, I'm re-wetting the sky area down to the horizon line, keeping it a nice straight edge, and you can go right over the hut, it's all okay. Now with the blue, I'm painting in a graduated wash, darker at the top, down to the horizon, with my flat brush. Good, strong, confident, bold strokes. Straight away, with a screwed up ball of tissue, I'm dabbing out some cloud shapes along the horizon. Now you have to be very quick, because once it's dried, it's all over. I'm doing the same with the areas in the beach hut. Now we could have used masking fluid here, but I like to use this method as it's a lot quicker. I'm drying my brush and again lifting out the colour to retrieve those lighter areas. For the sea colour, I'm just adding in a touch of cadmium yellow into my sky mix. Always be economical and use the colours you already have. A number 12 brush and a lovely straight line along the horizon, leaving a few gaps close to the beach for the breaking waves. Now for some sand shadows, and this is a 50-50 mix of yellow ochre and burnt umber. I've totally re-wet with clean water all the sand area above the foreground sand dune, and have dropped in wet this darker sand tone to give some shadows and depth to the sand. Here in the foreground I'm painting in a little shape of clean water, then painting in the colour along the bottom edge to create this dent in the sand. Now it's time for the king of splat, some directional splats to give some lovely random texture. And, of course, with a tissue, dab out any dots which look too prominent. The next mix is a lovely bluish grey. I've used a 50-50 mix of cobalt blue and alizarin crimson with just a little touch of yellow ochre. Now with my number 12, I'm painting in the shadow sides of the beach huts. For this roof, I'm using the same grey, but just adding in a little Payne's grey to give it a little more strength. Dry my brush and lift out a few highlights. And while it's still wet, I'm dropping in some cadmium orange to suggest some kind of rust or some growth here. Next, sharpened end of my brush, I'm scoring in a few roof details and then dropping in some more dark along the top. Exactly the same with the other hut, but I'm using a number 8 brush here. And then continuing with some more darker shadows. We need to let this totally dry, so now is the perfect time for a short break and a little sex on the beach. The cocktail, I mean. Really. Marvellous. 2 green mixes here. The lighter one is a 50-50 mix of cobalt blue and cadmium yellow with just a touch of alizarin crimson, and the second one is a much darker hue with more cobalt blue and alizarin crimson. In we go with the grass with the first green. Quick, short, dabby strokes with my number 12 brush. Then drop into the wet the darker green along the bottom. End of brush again to score in some details. Then, before it has a chance to dry, I'm softening the edges with some clean water. Here with my rigger, I'm painting in a few more grassy details. Next, with my spray bottle, I'm squirting in some water droplets here, but not saturating the paper. In I go with my lighter wash to start with, and then dropping in wet a few darker and warm tones. And then adding water to soften those edges. rigger again for a few more details. Spray this area again and paint in exactly the same as we did with the grass above. Keep that brush moving nice and quick and fluid. Splatman is back for some more random texture. Now this shadow colour is mixed from yellow ochre and a touch of burnt umber and just a little dab of cobalt blue. I'm using this for the darker shadows under the grasses and the darker sand on the ridge here. When this is totally dry, I'm using a piece of damp tissue just to soften some of the hard edges of these washes here. Okay, back to the beach huts. Cobalt blue for the doors, with just a little Payne's grey at the top. And a watery mix of cobalt blue for the shutters. Now for the wooden fence. This is a mix of yellow ochre and burnt umber and a touch of cobalt blue. Straight in with a good wet wash. As it's drying, I'm dropping in a darker value to get some lovely woody looking texture. And then again, scoring with the end of my brush to get a nice wood grain effect. Finally, a rigger again for some real dark details. continue into the grass area as well. For the hut details, I'm using my number 8 and some watery Payne's grey and really trying to get a nice loose feel to my brush strokes. Less is always more, so don't be tempted to paint in every line. Your eye will fill in what's not there. It's always good to let the viewer interpret things for themselves. For these mast cables, I'm using my rigger. After all, that was what the brush was designed and named for painting rigging on ships. So nice, quick, confident strokes. And now a little bit of softening with a tissue. Next, paint the flag in, and I'm just going to use a little bit of cadmium orange. But you can paint it whatever colour you want. It's your painting. Sorry, I just slipped into Bob Ross mode there for a moment. And here, just a few little red details. Yep. Okay, so here is a last minute decision. I just felt that this path area here needed a little bit of disturbed sand. So I'm painting in a watery yellow ochre burnt umber mix, making sure it's transparent so that you can see the original texture through the wash. Magic scalpel time, and I'm simply scratching in a few wave details and some other little white highlights. White pastel pencil for a few highlight details. And let's stick in a few seagulls in here, shall we? Sound effects, please. Thank you. And same again with a beige colour for little grass details. All we've got left to do is sign it. And I think we're done. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And thanks again everyone for watching. Please don't forget to do all the normal, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I just look forward to seeing you all again very soon. So take care everyone. Bye for now.